1. The Perfect Wave Surfer. December 26, 2004. The Indian Ocean. Tsunami is about to hit Thailand's coast. You know what's happening? Locals are screaming, running inland. Some are even grabbing tourists and dragging them to safety. The water is receding dramatically. A classic tsunami warning sign that even children learn in school. But our protagonist? An American surfer in his late 20s. Let's call him Brad, because that feels right. Brad sees the water pulling back and revealing the ocean floor, and his brain doesn't register danger. No. His brain goes, "Bro, look at that wave that's coming!" Multiple locals tried to warn him. One Thai man physically grabbed his arm and pointed inland, shouting in broken English, "Big wave! Go mountain! Go up!" Brad literally shook him off. He grabbed his surfboard, paddled out, and waited for what he called the wave of the century. He was technically right. It was the wave of the century. A 30-foot wall of water mixed with debris, cars, trees, and basically the entire coastline. Brad tried to ride it. For about 3 seconds before being consumed by what can only be described as nature's blender. His body was found 2 weeks later, still wearing his wetsuit 5 miles inland. The surfboard was never recovered. The tragic irony? He had a degree in marine biology. He knew what a tsunami was. He just thought he was better. 2. The photographer who wanted the shot. Let's stay in 2004 Thailand, but move to a different beach. This time, our subject is a British tourist, a semi-professional photographer who dreamed of selling photos to major publications. The tsunami warning came. Hotel staff were evacuating everyone, practically herding people up the hills behind the resort. This man? He grabbed his professional camera, ran down to the beach, and started setting up his tripod. His wife was screaming at him from the hotel entrance. Other tourists tried to grab him. One hotel employee ran down and physically tried to drag him back. He pushed everyone away, shouting, "This is once in a lifetime! National Geographic will pay thousands for these shots!" He got his shots. Oh boy, did he get his shots. He took approximately 15-20 photos of the approaching tsunami. We know this because his camera was found intact in a waterproof bag that he'd prepared. Very professional, very prepared, very dead. The last photo on his camera. A wall of dark water filling the entire frame. You can almost hear his final thought. Oh. His widow later stated in interviews that he always said he'd die for the perfect shot. Wish granted, buddy, wish granted. The worst part? National Geographic didn't even want the photos. Too graphic, they said. Reality check time. If nature is showing you its final warning and you're thinking about Instagram likes instead of survival, you might want to hit that subscribe button and watch more educational content. Like this video if you promise to choose life over content. Comment, "I'd rather be alive than viral," if you're smarter than these folks. 3. The Curious Beach Coma, Japan. The Tohoku earthquake has just happened. Tsunami warnings are blaring across the entire coastline. Evacuation orders are mandatory. Everyone is fleeing inland and upward. An elderly Japanese man, a retired fisherman in his 70s, hears the warnings. He knows exactly what's coming. He's lived on the coast his entire life. He's seen smaller tsunamis before. He understands the danger. But here's the thing. When the water receded, it revealed something he'd never seen in his 50-plus years of fishing. The ocean floor was exposed for miles. Fish were flopping everywhere. Octopuses, rare shells, things that normally lived in deep water, all just sitting there for the taking. His neighbors saw him walking toward the beach with a bucket. They called to him. Some ran after him, but he waved them off. "Just 5 minutes," he shouted back. "Look at all those fish! Such waste!" He spent those 5 minutes collecting fish and shellfish, probably thinking about the amazing dinner he'd prepare. He was apparently so excited, witnesses said he was laughing and calling for others to come help. The tsunami hit 12 minutes after he started collecting. He made it about 200 meters back towards safety. Almost made it. The wave got him in the parking lot of the evacuation center, literally 50 feet from safety. They found him still clutching his bucket. It had 3 octopuses and about a dozen fish in it. I hope those fish were worth it, buddy. I really do. The community that survived? They had a massive fish dinner at his funeral. They used the fish from his bucket. I can't decide if that's beautiful or horrifying. Probably both. 4. The It Won't Reach Here business owner. Back to the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, but this time in Sri Lanka. A German expatriate owned a beachfront restaurant that he'd built from scratch over 15 years. This place was his life, his retirement plan, his baby. The tsunami warnings came. He had time. About 45 minutes from the first earthquake report to the wave's arrival. His staff begged him to evacuate. His wife and 2 employees literally tried to drag him away, but he refused. He started moving his equipment, his expensive espresso machine, his imported furniture, his cash register, making trip after trip from the restaurant to his car parked up the hill. His wife gave up and evacuated. Smart woman. She survived and told this story later. She said she could see him through binoculars from the hilltop, still moving things, even as the water began to recede. Other evacuees tried to radio down to him. No response. He was too busy trying to save his investment. The tsunami hit. The restaurant was obliterated in seconds. Completely gone. Nothing left but the foundation. And our business owner, never found. Completely vanished. Probably washed out to sea along with his precious espresso machine. The truly maddening part? He had insurance, full coverage for natural disasters. His wife collected nearly $800,000 in insurance money after his death, the amount he would have gotten anyway, even if he'd just let everything go and evacuated. He died trying to save things that were already saved by paperwork. Let that sink in. Halfway checkpoint? Still alive? Still have basic survival instincts? Excellent. Prove you're smarter than these folks by subscribing. Hit that like button if you choose life over property any day. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe save a life. 5. The Skeptical Village Elder, 2004, Indian Ocean. Tsunami again, but this time in Indonesia. A coastal village where an interesting tradition existed. The oldest person in the village was considered the ultimate authority on weather and ocean conditions. The current elder was 89 years old. He'd lived through small tsunamis before, minor ones, maybe 6-8 feet tall, that happened decades ago. In his mind, he'd seen it all. When the earthquake hit and the water receded, younger villagers who had radios and news reports started screaming about a major tsunami. They wanted to evacuate immediately. But the elder, he laughed at them. "I've lived here for 89 years, he said. "I know this ocean. The wave will be small, maybe wet your feet. You young people panic about everything." And here's the tragic part. About 60 people believed him. They stayed. They trusted his experience, his authority, his confidence. Some were his family members. Some were people who'd known him their whole lives. The rest of the village, about 140 people, evacuated despite his protests. They literally begged him and the others to come. Some of the younger villagers tried to physically carry elderly family members who were staying. It became a whole conflict. The wave that hit was 50 feet tall. It wiped the entire village off the map. Nothing left. Those 60 people who stayed, all dead, including the elder, whose body was found 2 miles inland. The 140 who evacuated, they survived. They returned to find absolutely nothing left of their homes, their village, their entire lives. But they were alive. The elder's last words, according to survivors, were, "I've seen worse storms." He had not, in fact, seen worse storms. Experience is valuable, but so is knowing when your experience doesn't apply anymore. 6. The Looter's Last Score. Let's end with a story that'll make you shake your head so hard you might get whiplash. 2011 Japan tsunami, same event as our fish collector, but a different kind of terrible decision. In the chaos of the evacuation, one man, a 42-year-old with a criminal record, saw opportunity. While everyone was running for their lives, he ran toward the abandoned jewelry store in a shopping district near the coast. Security cameras, which somehow survived, caught the whole thing. He broke the window, climbed in, and started stuffing his pockets with watches, rings, and necklaces. Taking his sweet time, trying things on, comparing pieces. The tsunami alarm was still blaring. The automated announcement was still playing. Evacuate immediately. Tsunami approaching. He had approximately 8 minutes from when he broke in to when the water hit. He spent 7 of those minutes shopping. Literally shopping. The footage shows him casually browsing, like he was at a mall on a Sunday afternoon. At the 7-minute mark, you can see on the camera that he finally notices water starting to seep under the door. That's when the panic hit. He tried to leave. The door wouldn't open. The water pressure was already too strong. He tried to break another window. Couldn't. The water was rising fast. The last footage shows him trying to climb shelving units to reach a ceiling vent. They found his body 3 weeks later in the wreckage of the building. The cost of his funeral. His family had to pay about $8,000. The value of his life if he'd just run when everyone else did. Priceless. He literally died for a net gain of $7,000 worth of jewelry that he'd never get to sell. Economics major, he was not. Final reality check. Made it to the end. Your survival instincts are clearly functioning. Subscribe to keep them sharp. Like this video if you learned something valuable, like maybe just listen to tsunami warnings. Comment. Which story frustrated you the most? I need to know I'm not alone in this exasperation. The moral of these stories. Here's the thing about tsunamis. They're predictable. Unlike earthquakes or tornadoes, you usually get warning. Sometimes minutes, sometimes hours. The ocean literally shows you what's coming by pulling back the water. But these stories? They're all about people who had information, had time, had warnings, and made a conscious choice to ignore all of it. For what? A photo, some fish, a coffee machine, pride, jewelry. Nature doesn't care about your camera, your business, your experience, or your greed. It definitely doesn't care about your ego. When the ocean says, I'm about to rearrange this coastline, and the correct response is run, not let me get my stuff first. So here's my advice, completely free of charge. When natural disaster warnings happen, be boring. Be that person who overreacts. Be that person who evacuates early and feels silly if nothing happens. Because you know what's better than getting amazing footage or saving your possessions? Being alive. Being alive is fantastic. 10 would recommend. Stay safe out there. Listen to warnings. And remember, things can be replaced. You cannot. Peace out, and please, for the love of everything, respect the ocean.